In this video, we're going to work on the capital E and capital F, which are very, very similar, but not quite what you expect. To start on our E and our F, we're going to pull in our capital L. With our capital L open, we're going to start on that capital E. So we'll go into our capital L. I'm going to select all these elements because we're going to copy them over really quickly. And we'll paste them here, starting on our serif version. We already have a lot of DNA we need in this bottom half. So I'm going to grab these three components that we've drawn. I'll copy and paste them, and then drag them to the top. Once I flip them, we can set them right up there on that cap height, and we have a good start to our E. Now, our E has another crossbar in it. So we're going to go in our capital H, and we'll grab it from there. This will just tell us exactly where we need that crossbar to be, but not necessarily how wide we want it. So we'll narrow it out quite a bit. And now when we're looking at this, we have the majority of our E done, but there's one more element we need to add, which is that serif in that middle there. Again, we can grab this from our capital L, so we'll copy this and paste it in here. And for this one, we just need to rotate it 90 degrees. And now we have all the parts that we need in our capital E. The next thing we need to do is just edit it and make sure that it's working and doing exactly what we want to do. First off, the serifs that we copied from our capital L are probably too big. We have that large serif there in that capital L to help contain some of that white space, and our E that has 2 extra strokes and about 3 extra serifs is already containing a lot of that. So we can go in and bring down this serif a little bit so that we're giving ourselves enough space to work in that uppercase aperture. We'll bring this down a little bit, and we can bring this down a little bit. Again, I'm going to try and match that sort of angled outstroke because I think that's a really lovely detail. And then I'm just going to thin this out so we have a little bit more to work with. It's important to note that our lowercase e also isn't perfectly symmetrical. Sometimes in our lowercase e, you might want a little larger serif in that bottom serif, and sometimes in our lowercase e, we'll want that to be just a little bit wider so it hangs out a little bit and it holds that optical weight of that e. So I brought that out just a little bit, and I'm going to leave it like that. Then I want to make sure my serif in the middle there is the right size. Now this might be the right size for our capital F, but our E, again, because it has that bottom bar there, this might be just a little big. So I'm going to scale it similar to what we did in our lowercase.
Mid-roll time. Be sure to like and subscribe to the video if you haven't already. It's going to be the best way to support these videos so I can keep putting them out and keep making them free to access. All right, back.
So we'll make him 90%, and we'll try to center him up. Then, lastly, we want to make sure that that crossbar looks optically centered, or at least in line with the optics of our font. Right now, we're designing one that's pretty well centered, so we'll make sure to drop him down just a little bit. I'm just going to hold spacebar and tap some of these arrow keys a little bit. I'm also going to look at it and say maybe I made this too narrow, so we'll bring him back out. And something like that is going to be our capital E. Next, we'll just duplicate our successes and put it into our sans serif version. So we can add these points here. We'll pull up this stem, if I can grab him. Also pull down the stem. And then we can edit this crossbar a little bit. Again, in a sans serif version, it doesn't quite reach all the way out. We still want our middle crossbar to be tabbed in a little bit because otherwise it can look like it's poking out and encroaching on the letter next to it. So we'll just bring it out a little bit wider. I might drop him down just a little bit so that he holds a similar optic space. And we're going to call that good. Then I'm going to duplicate this and bring it into our capital F. Starting on our sans serif version, I'm going to paste those there and say, you know what? He's pretty good. I could even bring down my crossbar a little bit. Again, now that we don't have this stroke down here, he might feel a little bit heavy on that top there. So we want to balance out these optical spaces. Just a couple arrow keys down, maybe all your font needs. Then in our serif version, we'll go back to that E and we'll grab everything that we've done so far, including that serif. And in our serif version of our F, we'll paste those bits. And we'll get rid of this bottom stroke because we don't need that. And we'll also have to bring in the rest of this serif. Remember, when adding components, we can just right-click, add component, and type in the name of that element, which is our serif. I'm going to bring it down here, and I'll just quick flip it. And I'm going to put them in place where we've had them before. In our other versions, our other letter forms, we have it sitting on top there. In our letter forms that have a bottom stroke, we've sat them flush. So I'll sit them back up here, and then we'll need to manipulate this just a little bit. Similar to some of the lowercase letter forms, when we have this serif out here, we can look at that whole letter form and think about if this F would stand up on that serif. And frankly, it doesn't seem like it would. So what I'll do is I'm going to add a point over here so that I can move all of these as one element, and I won't change the angle of that. And I'm going to pull them out just a little bit. And by pulling them out, it'll give that F a little bit more footing to stand on, because we don't want it to look like it's going to topple over because of how heavy it is on this right side. With that there, it's looking pretty good. It may be just a little thick, so I will bring this down a little bit. And now we have our capital E and our capital F.
I hope you've enjoyed that video. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. That's the best way to support what's going on. Again, you can like the video if you loved it. Give it a thumbs down, honestly, if it was terrible. And maybe I'll make another one, maybe I won't. If I learn something new, I'll make a new one.